Hello, BookTube. All right, we're going to relentlessly continue this library tour. We're in biographies still. We've been in biographies since the beginning of this Redux library tour, and we've still got a ways to go, because biography is my favorite kind of reading. And I have quite a few of them, although doing this library tour is showing me the lacunae. This is showing me all of the books that I don't have, some of which I very much want to have, so I clearly need to start going to the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston again. I have not been in quite some time. We're doing the top shelf of this last bookcase. And as I mentioned the last time, instead of bookends to hold the top shelf books together, I'm using lateral stacks of books with books in between them. And we did the first lateral stack and we did the books in between last time, so now we're going to do the last lateral stack, and I'm going to try to do this without causing everything to collapse. and then we'll be done with this top shelf, and I can stop with this barbaric standing up. but this last lateral stack looks like I grouped together all of the smaller hardcovers, the very quarto-size hardcovers that would ordinarily be scattered around. It looks like I gathered them all together in one column, so that's good. And the first one is a favorite of mine. It's Erasmus of Rotterdam by Johann Huizinga, and it's just one of the few Erasmus biographies that I've actually kept. Because I just love it. I think it's fantastic. Quotable lines everywhere. So I kept that. And then this next one is Victoria Glendinning, the great biographer. This is her biography of Anthony Trollope. There are a couple of other Trollope biographies that I really like that I don't appear to have. At least we haven't come across them so far. But this is a Pimlico trade paperback, which I love. And I go back to it a lot because she's equally good on the biography as she is on the novels, which is, for literary biography, kind of what you're looking for. You don't often get it. Okay. This next one is by Leonard Richards and is The Life and Times of Congressman John Quincy Adams. And this is a targeted biography of John Quincy Adams, who, after he was president, went back to Congress. None of this, the falderall surrounding Mitt Romney, who was a successful presidential candidate, but never actually president. John Quincy Adams was president and then went back to Congress and stayed for a long time. And this is a study of his congressional career. Okay. This is it. This is by Christopher Harold. This is a great old trade paperback cover. The reason I got it is for you see this in all kinds of editions, or at least you used to. This is Mistress to an Age. Look at that. Isn't that lovely, that cover? That's the cover illustration. This is the life of Madame de Stael, and I think it's fantastic. It's almost as good as reading her, which is, again, for literary biographies, that's a major accomplishment. Okay, this next one is a nice, small, fist-sized trade paperback. This is not foreign. I believe this is American. I think it just came out this way. And this is Hermione Lee's biography of Edith Wharton, a great book. This is really, it's not my only Edith Wharton biography. I think it might be the only one we've seen so far. But it's not the only one that I have, and if I find this at the Prattle or anywhere else in hardcover with a dust jacket, then I will grab it because it's that good. I haven't. I think this is the one that I just happen to have. Every time I get a hardcover, I manage to send it away somewhere. So again, I need to start going back to the Prattle. My standing excuse for months now, for 7 to 8 months, was that it was too cold, and it's not too cold anymore. So now I've developed a new standing excuse, which is that I don't like to leave Frida, and she doesn't like to go on the subway. But that's not... She just naps or looks out the window when I'm not here. It's not, as long as I'm not gone for long, that's not a really good excuse. And I'm missing a lot of books from even biography, my favorite genre. So, but then again, as I often say, new books often supply the want. I could easily see someone reprinting this biography, and then I would get it in a larger size. Okay, this next one is, I would assume this would be the run of things for this stack, because these smaller hardcovers typically aren't made anymore. This one, for instance, is probably 150 years old. Let's see when this is, if we can see. If we can know. No, I think this is from 1895, but it doesn't seem to have a date. I believe this is from the Victorian era. This is just a life of Sir Philip Sidney, with the heavily doctored portrait and the onion skin to cover it. And this is This is, wow, I'm trying to see who this is even written by, and I'm not immediately coming up with it. You'll notice it was not on the title. Well, anyway, it's just an old life of Sir Philip Sidney. I find those fascinating because you see all the conventions that existed then as opposed to now. Oh, okay, this next one really needs to be reinforced. I have a couple of copies of this because I love it so much. This is Francis Hackett's biography of Henry VIII. Talk about quotable on every page. It's amazing. It's a very angry work. It gets angrier as it goes along. Hackett starts out philosophical about Henry and ends up hating him. And it makes for a dodgy biography to lean a lot of weight on in terms of critical reliability, but it makes for better and better reading as it goes along, as he gets angrier and angrier. So that's great. I need to reinforce that. So see, for instance, this is John Addington Symonds. This is his life of Michelangelo, and I have reinforced it. This is probably 100 years old as well. I don't quite remember. Well, this is that's what it looks like. Lovely old hardcover it had, like this, it had a dust jacket that was fraying apart, and those will eventually just fall apart on you. They'll rip. Sometime you'll be taking the book off the shelf and it will just rip, and then you won't have it anymore. And this is prettier than that, but still, what I need to do is, I'm never going to get rid of these, and no one's ever going to see them but me, so I don't care that it's not all that attractive a job of reinforcing it. What I want is not to worry about it, and I don't have to worry about this one. And I like Addington Symonds. I really do. I like him as a writer. I go back to his life of Michelangelo, even though, as we've seen, I have many more recent ones. I still go back to this one. And not just for the felicity of the language. I go back to it also just for its insights. Okay. All right. This is Baron Corvo. This is his history of the Borgias. More of a curiosity than anything else, but also very, very well written. The guy was a certifiable loon, but he wrote lovingly detailed history. Wow, okay, we're in a little bit of a Italian Renaissance here. This is a lovely modern library hardcover of the autobiography of Benvenuto Cellini. This is actually a translation by John Addington Symonds, the guy that did the life of Michelangelo. And it's one of the greatest autobiographies of all time and one of the least trustworthy. maybe those things are exactly hand in hand, but this is an absolute classic. It's not really known that much anymore. If you've heard about it, or if you haven't, I strongly urge you to download a free copy and try it, because Benvenuto Cellini is an amazing person to spend a little time with, or even a lot of time. He was a very talented artist, but he wasn't nearly as talented as he thought he was. He was a very talented storyteller, but he told stories about everything, true and false. It was just his autobiography is incredible. Then we have this is the old Penguin Live series. They did a whole bunch of 115-page books right at the dawn of the internet, so no one would accuse these things of being Wikipedia-esque. Wikipedia, came later, a little bit later, but they conscripted a whole bunch of really good writers to do short, relatively factual meditations on historical figures, and some of them, of course, when you get a setup like that, the results will be uneven, and they were. Most of them were entirely forgettable, but some of them were really good, and a couple of them were downright classics. And this is my favorite of them all. This is Elizabeth Hardwick's book on Herman Melville. Tiny little thing, but one of the best Melville books. Just one of the best Melville books, even though there are gigantic, hundreds of page biographies of him. This ranks right up there with the rest of them. Same thing with this next one. A character I find far less sympathetic, but I love the book. The book was incredible. This is Roy Blount on Robert E. Lee. And those two, I had once a whole bunch of Penguin Lives. Now I appear to have just two, but they're the two best. The only runner-up to those that I would recommend would be Larry McMurtry on Sitting Bull. And then we have this is Peter Aykroyd. He's a really enjoyable historian and biographer, and this is his tiny little book on Chaucer. I didn't actually remember that I had this. I'm glad that I do. With a thing like this, as with the Blount or the Elizabeth Hardwick, you're mainly going to be here for the thoughts and meditations of the author rather than for any kind of critical comprehensiveness, because you're not going to get it in a book that small. But if you go in with that acknowledgement, then they have lots and lots of value to them. Okay, all right, we're back to Philip Sidney. This is a very old book. What have we got here? Okay, it doesn't say. It doesn't say. Probably 1900, 1905, something like that. This is an old hardcover reprint of Greville's Life of Sir Philip Sidney. So you get the title page there. Fulk Greville was Philip Sidney's friend and wrote a book about him that excludes more than it includes, but is fascinating from a historical point of view. You can't really write about Philip Sidney without making some sense out of this book to start with. All right, this next one. This next one was a gift. Oh no, I think I found this at the Brattle. No, it wasn't a gift, but an old friend of mine quipped right away that this was perhaps the ultimate Steve book. This is Sir Walter Scott's life of John Dryden. In a trade paperback, a crappy trade paperback that really can't stand up to much abuse, but you're never going to see this in a hardcover, and it's never going to be reprinted. I don't think. I mean, unless Scott comes back into vogue and people reprint everything he did, that would be wonderful. But this is, again, like with Fulk Greville, only not quite as much because they didn't know each other. You're going to want this more for the reflections of one great author on another than you are for historical acumen. I mean, the scholarship on Dryden has surpassed Sir Walter Scott, although not that much. People are not interested in either Dryden or Scott, so this is still a fantastic book to read. It's here only for its size. Otherwise, it would be with. I have one other Dryden book, and it would be with that. Okay, all right. There was also a series. A lot of these are series of the brief lives and whatnot. There was also a series. There is an ongoing series of American presidents. These little books, little biographies of American presidents. There's a whole slew of them so far, with more to come, where historians are tapped to do a short, 150, 175-page history of an American president. And right from the inception of that series, I had friends of mine joking and saying to me, well, it's hit or miss, but we know one that you'll absolutely get once they make it. And when they did. I absolutely did. This is Jeffrey Rosen on William Howard Taft. This is his little book on William Howard Taft, which isn't that bad. There's not much you can do in that length. It's only meant to be an outline. It's not meant to be anything else. And as an outline, it's extremely good. So I don't know that I would probably, if you're the type that wants an overview of a subject but doesn't really like Wikipedia or online of any, there are presidential databases online now. But if you're the type that doesn't really like that and you want a book, then I would recommend Rosen's book on Taft to give you the outline of the character. And then if you want more, then you can turn to the big new 800-page biography of Taft that's written by, oh wait, there isn't one. That would be me. That's my job, and I haven't done it. But anyway, that is the top shelf of biography, and that's good because I'm exhausted from all this standing up. So I'm gonna sit back down, and next time we will move on. We have 4 more shelves of biography to do, and then biography will be done. So the rest of them I can do sitting down. So I will reconvene tomorrow, I hope, and we will do more biographies. Thank you, Book 2.